Welcome back to RetroWheelsVault, where horsepower never dies. I'm RetroVault 4, your tour guide through the chrome-covered chapters of automotive history. Today we're diving into the 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado, a front-wheel drive beast so bold it made muscle cars question their own masculinity, because modern cars forgot what muscle means. Let's get into it. Here's a fun fact that'll make any gearhead's eyebrows lift higher than a hood ornament. The 66 Oldsmobile Toronado was the first GM passenger car to feature front-wheel drive. Yep, in an era when rear-wheel drive ruled the road, Oldsmobile decided to throw convention out the window and power the front wheels instead. It was like teaching a grizzly bear to ice skate, and somehow the bear pulled it off beautifully. At the heart of this mechanical magic was a longitudinally mounted V8 engine, feeding power not backward but forward through a brilliant bit of engineering wizardry. That included a unique chain drive system officially called the high-vo chain, and half shafts that carried that grunt straight to the front tires. It was so ahead of its time that even seasoned mechanics had to pause and say, "Wait, it drives the front wheels?" The setup not only worked, it worked really well. The Toronado handled better in bad weather, reduced floor height for sleeker stance, and proved that innovation and muscle could coexist. It was GM's first mechanical moon landing, a bold step into uncharted drivetrain territory that left the automotive world both stunned and inspired. The design story of the 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado began not in the drafting room but on an artist's easel. In 1962, Oldsmobile stylist David North painted a sleek fiber vision he called the Flame Red car. It was supposed to be nothing more than an artistic daydream, a compact personal sports coupe that belonged in a gallery wall, not on a showroom floor. But fate, as it often does in the automotive world, had other plans. When word spread that Oldsmobile would get a chance to build a new personal luxury car to rival the Thunderbird North's painting project, something became the blueprint for something real. Olds execs and GM's own design titan Bill Mitchell pushed for the car to ride on the smaller A-body platform, while Harley Earl, ever the visionary, thought it'd make a pretty sharp station wagon. Thankfully, cooler and sportier heads prevailed, and the team settled on the larger E-body shell for production efficiency, sharing its bones with the upcoming 1966 Buick Riviera. 7 years of design, development, and over 1.5 million test miles later, that once imaginary flame red car roared to life as the Toronado, a bold front-wheel drive masterpiece that looked like it came straight out of a futuristic fever dream. Under the hood of the 66 Toronado lurked a beast that didn't just purr, it roared like a lion with a caffeine addiction. Oldsmobile borrowed its 425 cubic inch Super Rocket V8 from the 98 and Starfire, then gave it a series attitude adjustment. The result? A fire-twisting 385 horsepower and a mountain-moving 475 foot-pounds of torque. About 20 horses more than its luxury cousins. This wasn't just a muscle car engine, it was a brute dressed in a business suit. With a displacement of 425 cubic inches, or 7 liters for the metrically inclined, a 10.5:1 compression ratio, and a Rochester 4GC 4-barrel carburetor feeding its appetite, the Super Rocket was a high-octane symphony of power. To make sure it all fit neatly under the hood, engineers had to depress the intake manifold, like squeezing a wild stallion into a garage and telling it to behave. The engine's bore and stroke, 4.1 by 4 inches, created a perfect balance of brute force and smooth delivery. Mated to a unique front-wheel drive layout, the Toronado didn't just launch, it clawed forward, defying physics and expectations alike. Simply put, this V8 didn't just move the Toronado, it motivated it like thunder trapped in steel. When it came to drivetrain ingenuity, the 66 Toronado was less by the book and more, we rewrote the book and added footnotes in torque. Oldsmobile engineers created what they called the Unitized Power Package, UPP, a compact marvel that crammed the engine, automatic transmission, and axle/differential into the same space where most cars barely fit an engine. It was like stuffing a 3-course meal into a lunchbox, and somehow making it delicious. The project originally started with the transverse V6, but as corporate pressure and practicality mounted, the team switched to a longitudinal V8 layout. Backing that mighty engine was a re-engineered turbo-hydromatic 425, a 3-speed automatic that was rotated 180 degrees and tucked neatly beside the engine. Early prototypes used gears to transfer power, but engineers soon swapped that setup for a single silent chain drive system called the Hyvo, courtesy of the Morse chain division of Borg-Warner. These hardened steel chains were so strong and precise they didn't need idler pulleys or tensioners. They had already been pre-stretched at the factory, like gym rats who'd done their warm-up sets. The result? A front-wheel drive setup smooth enough for luxury cruising, yet tough enough to handle V8 Fury without breaking a sweat. Building the Oldsmobile Tornado's chassis was like teaching a bodybuilder ballet. Muscular, but unexpectedly graceful. With its unconventional front-wheel drive layout, engineers faced a mechanical maze of obstacles. The solution? GM's first subframe chassis on the E-body platform, a partly unitized structure that became the Tornado's backbone. This ingenious setup extended just far enough to anchor the rear suspension leaf springs while also cradling the floor pan, front suspension, and powertrain like a finely tuned exoskeleton. This clever design didn't just hold the car together. It helped isolate road noise and engine vibrations, giving drivers a surprisingly smooth ride for something packing a 7-liter monster under the hood. Think of it as muscle wrapped in silk. Up front, engineers went with torsion bar suspension, another first for GM passenger cars in the US. It paired with unequal length double wishbones to add the unique weight distribution of the front drive setup. Space was tight, but Oldsmobile engineers made it work like master Tetris players. In the rear, a beam axle rode on single leaf springs with dual shocks, one horizontal, one vertical, to keep everything planted and stable. The result? A car that rode like a cruiser but cornered with the confidence of a heavyweight dancer in perfect rhythm. Climb inside the GT6 Oldsmobile Toronado and you'll find yourself in a time capsule of futuristic flair and mid-century swagger. Those elongated doors weren't just for show. They made slipping into the rear seats a breeze, while duplicate door latch handles at the back ensured passengers didn't have to perform yoga moves to get out. Oldsmobile was thinking ahead, literally and ergonomically. Front and center sat a double delta-shaped steering wheel, the kind of detail that made even parking feel like piloting a spacecraft. Add the optional tilt telescopic steering column and headrest, and you had luxury with a side of adjustability, because comfort shouldn't come with compromise. But the real party trick was the speedometer. Instead of a traditional sweeping needle, it featured a stationary horizontal pointer with a rotating black drum behind it, where white numerals rolled past like the reels on a slot machine of speed. The straddle bench front seat wrapped you in foam cushioned comfort, surrounded by touches like an electric clock, deluxe armrests, courtesy lamps, and even a parking brake light, because details mattered. Outside, chrome molding sparkled, while interiors came in vinyl, leather, or cloth. The Toronado wasn't just about power. It was about presence, pampering, and a dash of panache. Underneath the Toronado lurked one of the most fascinating pieces of engineering ever crammed into a car's front end. Thanks to the UPP, Oldsmobile managed to squeeze a planetary differential and transaxle into the same space where most cars only dared fit an engine. It was like teaching a sumo wrestler to do yoga. Tight fit, incredible balance, and somehow it worked beautifully. But this new front-wheel drive setup meant those poor front tires had a lot more on their plate. Steering, braking, carrying the engine's bulk, and delivering 385 horsepower worth of fury. Enter Firestone's Toronado front drive TFD tires, measuring 8.85 by 15. These were no ordinary rubber donuts. They had stiffer sidewalls and a unique tread pattern designed to handle all that extra responsibility, plus a classy thin white pinstripe, because even workhorses deserve good shoes. Stopping power came from 11-inch hydraulic drum brakes, which did the job until you really needed them. Under heavy braking, they overheated faster than a drag racer in rush hour traffic, leading to fade and long stopping distances. Thankfully, by 1967, Oldsmobile gave the Toronado what it deserved: optional vented front disc brakes, finally matching its go with some proper whoa. The 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado wasn't just a car, it was a land yacht with muscles. Stretching 211 inches long and 78.5 inches wide, it took up road space like it paid rent by the foot. Standing only 52.8 inches tall though, it had that low, slow, and predatory stance like a panther crouched ready to pounce. The proportions were perfectly exaggerated, long, lean, and dripping with attitude. Underneath that sweeping body sat a 119-inch wheelbase, giving the Toronado the stability of a freight train on the highway. Whether you were gliding down Main Street or devouring miles of interstate, it rode with the composure of a heavyweight boxer in a tuxedo. Strong, smooth, and stylish. Now, let's not forget its sheer mass. At a curb weight of 4,496 pounds, the Toronado wasn't exactly featherweight material. This thing had presence. You didn't just drive it, you commanded it. Yet, despite its size, the engineering made it surprisingly balanced and sure-footed, even with all that front-wheel drive wizardry. In short, the Toronado was a rolling paradox, massive yet agile, elegant yet intimidating. It filled every inch of your driveway and every glance of admiration on the road, proving that sometimes size really does make an entrance. The 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado was a car of glorious contradictions, a trailblazer with brawn and brains, but not without a few quirks under its sharply creased hood. On the strength side, it was revolutionary. Its front-wheel drive system was decades ahead of its time, giving it traction that made winter roads and highway cruises feel almost effortless. The 425 Super Rocket V8 packed enough punch to tow a small moon, while its futuristic design looked something dreamed up by a 60s concept artist who spent too much time watching the Jetsons. Inside, it offered luxury and innovation in equal measure, proof that muscle didn't have to mean monotone. But for all that brilliance, the Toronado had a few weaknesses. Those 11-inch drum brakes were about as good at stopping the car as a stern look is at stopping a freight train. Fine for casual driving, terrifying in a panic stop. The front heavy weight distribution made it a bit nosy in tight corners, and at nearly 4,500 pounds, it was no ballerina. Fuel economy? Well, it drained the tank faster than a teenager drains their phone battery. Still, its boldness outweighed its flaws. The Toronado wasn't perfect, but it was perfectly unforgettable, a true pioneer wrapped in chrome and courage. The 1966 Oldsmobile Toronado wasn't just a car, it was a declaration, a front-wheel drive powerhouse wrapped in sculpted steel and pure audacity, proving that innovation could wear muscle like a tailored suit. It looked like the future, sounded like thunder, and handled it like Detroit's answer to destiny itself. Sure, it had a few flaws. Brakes that begged for mercy and a thirst that could drain a gas pump dry. But its courage to be different is what made it legendary. The Toronado didn't follow trends, it created them. It paved the way for luxury muscle and dared to challenge tradition when others played it safe. In many ways, it was the rebel philosopher of the highway. Loud, bold, and too smart for its own good. So what do you think? Was the Toronado a misunderstood genius or an overambitious experiment with a chrome grin? Let me know down in the comments because I want to hear you take on this front-wheel drive icon. And if you enjoyed this ride through Oldsmobile's most daring chapter, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next classic deep dive. Until next time, keep it loud, keep it classic.